carpet or doing interviews. You'll find her with celebrities and all the latest news. She's here, she's there, she's everywhere, she's always on the go. So sit back, relax, and get ready. This is the Corey Taylor Talks Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corey Taylor Talks live from Las Vegas. I am joined with Mr. Vinny Grosso, who is such an incredible magician, and literally, you have done some incredible tricks and fooled some of the most amazing magicians in the world. So I am so excited to have you on. America's Got Talent, Penn and Teller, Fool Us, everything. You're just really, really talented, and I think you're so cool, and I wish I knew magic.
Can we end the interview now? Is this enough?
No, I always wish I could get into magic and stuff, but it's so fascinating to me, everything you guys do. So I am so excited to have you on. So
I'm happy to be here
today?
I'm doing well.
Oh, so why don't you introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what you do exactly?
So my name is Vinny Grosso, and I'm a magician, but my show here in Las Vegas is a comedy mentalism show. Because I think mentalism is just way too serious. It needs a little lighthearted approach. So
Right.
that is my approach. So I have, and we're also downtown. So I think things have to be a little different if you're doing a show downtown.
Right.
And that's what I do.
Yeah. And so what can people kind of expect when going to your show?
They can expect me to mess with their minds, but in a fun way.
Yeah.
And also, I don't pretend that any of it is real in any way, shape, or form. That's kind of the premise of my whole show, is that
Gotcha.
this is fake. And I'm going to do some crazy things, but in no way is this real. Like, don't start, wanting to touch me, or especially we started during COVID, so definitely don't do
There you
that.
go.
But
No. So how long have you actually been doing this for?
the show downtown?
Well, the show too, but also just what made you actually kind of get into magic and mentalism and everything?
So I got into magic when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Excuse me. I always liked trying to figure out how things worked.
Yeah.
And when I got a magic kit and all of that, like from my grandparents, I got really into it. So I was always interested in magic, just from the trying to figure out how things worked. I mean, I went to college for mechanical engineering, so
Oh, wow.
it's that is how my head is wired
Right.
into trying to figure things out. So the mentalism really came about lately. I was working on a cruise ship, and you have to have basically 2 shows on a cruise ship. So rather than having 2 magic shows, comedy magic shows, I made one a comedy magic show, and then one anything that I had to do with mentalism. I kind of built and structured a show there. And then when I started the show here in Las Vegas, it was February, so it was still very strict COVID rules.
Right.
And I thought that the mentalism show lended itself much better to performing within kind of those constraints. And also, this town has enough magicians. I thought doing a mentalism show,
Get
and there's
out
no
of it.
comedy mentalists either.
Right,
So
right.
it hopefully fulfills a little need in the marketplace. But the show, I still don't have any volunteers come up on stage. I've found ways to interact with the audience and have them all involved, with them all sitting in their seats. Now,
Gotcha.
we don't have the social distancing going on anymore that we used to, but I still kept the show. It's structured. It isn't like, someone says, oh, well, now you can have volunteers up. Why don't you just switch, take out one piece and put a different piece in?
Right.
But the show is really structured
Yeah.
in a way that it isn't just
You
a
don't
collection
really
of my
need to.
magic tricks.
Right.
There's an actual storyline going through. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing that it's a very difficult thing. COVID and everything made everything 1,000 times
Yeah.
more difficult than it ever should be. But for you to figure out a way around it, especially in when it was so strict, that's really a brilliant way to do it. And I think I think even like you said now, to keep it that way, I think people feel more comfortable with that too and stuff. But I think it's a really an amazing show, and like you said, to have a storyline to it and everything, that's really cool. So
Yeah, it's been
and
fun.
it's not often in Vegas, like you said, in mentalism. That's a smart thing to go that route too.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I think magic is just so amazing, and I want to know the tricks, but at the same time I don't, because I think it kind of ruins the whole point of it. But
It does. There's when people be like, "Oh, I want to know how it's done. I want to know how it's done." When they do know how it's done, because the best magic tricks are the simplest magic tricks. So then when they find out how it's done and it's just something really simple and really easy, then it's kind of like, oh, well, it's just that.
Right.
Well, no,
Not at
30
all.
seconds
Right.
ago, it was this amazing thing
Right.
that you couldn't fathom.
Right.
And because, so yeah, I say that. And I said earlier, I always wanted to know how things done. Sometimes, I mean, to me, the simplest solution is to me is the most amazing thing. When someone can do something, accomplish something in a very easy, simple fashion, whatever it is, I'm in awe of that, because that is complicated. To make something simple is very complicated.
Oh yeah. And I must say you're very, very talented too, because like I said, you've obviously been on a few shows, but Penn and Teller's Full S. Penn and Teller, some of the most iconic magicians in the world ever, and they have seen everything, literally everything, and that's kind of the whole premise of the show, is to figure out, and for you to actually fool them twice, and like you said, you're the only comedy magician who's done that.
Yeah.
That is a huge feat, and I how difficult was it to figure out what trick you would do and like how you would fool them, so to say?
So if you go into that show trying to fool them, you're going to fail miserably.
Gotcha.
Because they are incredibly smart.
Right.
So I always, for the longest time, I felt really apprehensive saying I fooled Penn and Teller, because it seems like you pulled one over on them.
Right.
You outsmarted them, and there's no way I'm outsmarting them. That's not it at all. I got lucky. I got lucky both times. I think there certainly are some magicians that go on and have a level of cleverness that is phenomenal and definitely fool them in that regard. That was not me, and it's also not the majority of the people that are foolers on the show.
Right.
The majority of people that fool Penn and Teller are people that did something and they might have distracted them or did it in a way that they just didn't think of that first.
Right.
Like that wasn't their initial thought. But there's nothing that I did fooled them in the sense that they're like, oh my God, I have no idea how he could have possibly done that. No, they guessed wrong is really what it comes down to. So, to answer your question, you don't go into it trying to fool them. You go into it trying to do the most entertaining routine you can. And I think what worked for me is that they were entertained by my act, so maybe that took them away a little bit from the scrutiny that if it was just about trying to fool them, well, then they'd be hyper alert and you wouldn't get anything past them.
Gotcha.
So.
No, it makes sense. And do I have to, like, afterwards, do you guys go over and, like, do you tell them how you did it, or is that really?
So the first time I was on, it was also it was the third season. I think it was the third season, and yeah, pretty sure. And it wasn't as much of the community of Fool Us had not developed the way it is now. They just finished filming season 8, right now.
Right.
Yeah. So it has evolved into something where now when people fool Penn and Teller, they usually are off in the wings, and then Penn and Teller will go over there and they'll have a conversation with them and see it and stuff, and that's kind of a neat thing to do.
Right.
So the first time I did it, I was whisked away, and I knew the one of the consultants on the show had dinner with them and explained and it wasn't that they did. Again, it wasn't that they didn't
Didn't,
know, but
right.
they were like, "Oh, that is how he did it," kind of thing. And the
Gotcha.
second time that I fooled them, it was literally, there are 3 ways he could have done it, and we're choosing this one, and it wasn't the right one.
Gotcha.
And so it wasn't like there was anything that they had. No, it was
Right.
so like, oh, that wasn't it, so it must have been that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I wish I had a more interesting.
No, it is.
No,
No,
but
it's
I'm
so
just like,
interesting. Yeah.
I'm really bad at self promotion. Because I'm like, oh no, that was nothing. I did not do that.
Well,
Yeah.
I still think it's very, very impressive. But no, the fact that they do know, and even if there were only these few ways that you could do it, the fact that you still did it in the way that they wouldn't expect, that's pretty amazing. So
Yeah, I feel good. The first trick that I did, the first performance that I did, I felt good about that because there was maybe a level of cleverness to it
Yeah.
to pull that off. But the second one, I honestly, it was 100% luck. There was something random that happened with the trick, with getting a volunteer and all of that, that if that did not happen, they would have been on the trail immediately. But because of that, it took them off the trail. And that wasn't anything I could have planned or made
Right.
happen. It was really, it was luck. But I say to them, I'm not giving the trophy back. Like, I know it's luck.
Heck
But,
no.
yeah.
No, you earned it. Luck or not, you still got it.
Right.
And so what do you prefer more? Do you prefer mentalism or do you prefer magic, or is it kind of equal? Or
I prefer magic.
Yeah.
I've ended up doing more kind of mentalism stuff, but the mentalism stuff, and I say this in my show, at the top of my show, I say the name of the show is Totally Mental. I say magician, mentalist, are they the same thing or
Right,
not?
right.
A lot of people think they're the same thing, but they're not. They're different.
right.
They're similar in that both a magician and a mentalist, we're both going to lie to you. But with a magician, you kind of know it's a lie.
Right.
Nobody thinks that person's really floating in the air, or this thing really disappeared.
Well, you never know.
Right. But with a mentalist, they want you to think that what they're doing is really happening.
Right.
And there's a lot of people believe it. I cannot be more clear. Well, I guess maybe I could, but in my mind, I don't think I could be more clear about it to the audience that what I am doing is a bunch of magic tricks that may appear that I have some power, and I still get comments after the show about, like, is what you're doing real? I'm like, no, like, did you not listen? Like, I do this whole ending of the show to really illustrate that point, and it still happens.
Yeah. I don't blame it, because there's sometimes I'm like, I don't know. I think it might be. I think they're just trying to throw us off so they could keep going. But but I mean, that just shows how talented you are, because you do tell them it's completely, it's all mental. It's not real, but they still believe it. That really just shows how impressive it is. So.
Yeah, I mean, I do have one trick in there that I do that I have a lot of fun with, because it's me exposing how a mentalist could do this thing and saying, well, it could have been this, so let's not do that at all, so choose something different. So through a series of different ways that I could have tricked you as a mentalist, but then giving you the opportunity to not do that at all, it still turns out that I knew exactly what was going on there.
Right.
So that's my little present to myself during the show.
And, do you really have to probably like study people and stuff a lot? I mean, right? Or
yeah, a good person would do that. I don't know if I do it. That's always tricky with picking volunteers from the audience, because there are certainly types of people that you want for different things that you're doing, and through the course of doing these routines over and over again, you know what you kind of want. Not just from will the trick work better with a particular person, but also just optics of things now too.
Right.
You know, because it's a comedy show,
Right.
and I'm making certain jokes.
Absolutely.
And I need to make sure that the humor that I want to do is with someone that it's safe to
Right.
to do that kind of humor
No, it
with.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and I say it like I have a background in engineering, and I'm really good at math. I like tutor people in math and everything. Like
That's
my
not
nieces
me.
and friends.
You can
But
tutor me, please.
when I am on stage, if you ask me what 1 + 2 is, I would struggle to give you an answer.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
So I cannot do. My brain does not function well. So
Interesting.
there are many times when I start and I'm engaged with a volunteer, and I'm like, why did I know better? Why did I pick this person? and
Right.
and I can't take it back. You
Right.
know. So it's like, okay, well, make this work.
No, that's really interesting. So is it like different to like kind of do it on stage? And so I'm sure it has to be kind of an insane
100%.
feeling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
prefer that type of magic, or like, or not necessarily that, but like big magic tricks, or do you prefer like up close, or?
So I'm not a close in magic. There's stage, parlor, and close-up magic are
Right.
kind of 3 designations, and I am for sure a parlor magician.
Gotcha.
I am not, although I was doing stage shows with a 900 plus seat audience and making it work. That's not my forte. That's not my strength. I was going to say forte, but then in my head, we're talking about Penn and Teller, and I'm like, Penn would correct me and say it's forks. You know, like there's no. The large crowd is definitely not my strength.
Gotcha.
But I am not a close up where like micro magic where it's
Right.
because those people are incredible sleight of hand artists.
Yeah.
I am not. My strength is my ability to converse with the audience. So
Gotcha.
so my whole thing is I want it to feel like we are in your living room after like a dinner party kind of thing, but I'm entertaining more than just a few people like that. It's like, you know, I'm talking to the group. So
Right.
my theater's 200 seats, and it's I think it's great.
Like
it
a
has,
perfect size.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has a nice intimate feel.
Yeah.
But it isn't that micro
Right.
kind of stuff.
No, I think that I personally like that the best too, because like you said, then it's not as intense as like the
Yeah.
close up, but you still, like you said, you still feel like you're involved and you're still kind of one on one, even though you're not. So it's really cool that you're able to balance that out. But like you said, you've also done it for ginormous audiences too, and have been very successful, and people love it. So
Yeah, but the crew, they're a little thrown off by it.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing a 900 seat theater, but and it's on a cruise ship, so they're expecting, you know, where's the, you know, sparkly magician kind of thing, and that is not me at all. And
Gotcha.
and I end up, I've made that 900 seat theater, I've made it a conversation with those folks as
Yeah.
well. And it took a little bit for the technical director on the ship to be, oh, okay, this is different. We're used to, you know, the same
Right.
kind of, I'll say like cheese ball kind
Right.
of stuff, but the overly flashy kind of magic, and that is the complete opposite side of the spectrum
Yeah.
that I am on. Yeah.
But people love it, and I think that's what's so cool is there's so many facets of magic, and like you said, and the mentalism for you to do that too, that it's not as common. I mean, people know about it and stuff. It's really not as common, and people honestly don't even understand it a lot of times, like you said. So I think that's cool that you can balance that out, and I think. Like I said, I love magic. I always think it's so incredible, but I'm just so in awe of you guys. But for you to balance it out, like you said, in such a huge theater, but still not be that huge flashy person, still have people engaged in it, that's really a special talent. That's really, really impressive.
I'm just wondering if we're related, because you're talking about me as having this talent that only a sibling or a parent would say. I'm not used to that.
No, it's true. It's true though, and like I said, I've always been fast. My mom's taken me to magic shows since I was a little kid, and like I always.
Where did you grow up?
In Vegas. So,
in Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know all the people that I was
Everyone.
talking about before we
absolutely.
Went on the air.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so who was your favorite growing up?
Good. Growing up, we were obsessed with Mind Free Chris Angel. We were obsessed. I could watch that show forever. And now I'm older, and I know people who worked on the show, and it's kind of like, I'll talk about it, somehow it gets brought up, and they're like, oh, well, I was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, because it kind of ruins everything. But at the same time, it's just so amazing that people can pull it off. And Matt King, even when I was little, I would go to a show like a couple times a year and was obsessed with him. I mean, so many magicians and Lance Burton, everything. Yeah.
Just the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Penn and Teller, obviously. I haven't been able to go to their show as much because they're a little more expensive, but they were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It was I really was lucky to grow up here because there are so many amazing talents, and now Dan Sperry, and so many amazing people. So yeah. I've been very lucky. But you too, when you go to magic shows, are you... got to be kind of different for you.
Yeah.
Are you able to just enjoy? Do you try to analyze, or do you even realize it without thinking about it? Or
I equate it, because that's not. I mean, that's a fairly common curiosity,
right?
And I equate it to maybe a musician watching another musician. They're never like, oh, was that a G chord and then an A chord? They know exactly what that musician is playing.
Gotcha.
But they have an appreciation for how they arranged it,
right.
and their playing of it.
Yeah.
So but that's not to say there aren't times when I see something and I'm like, I have no idea.
Right.
Absolutely no idea. But for the majority of it, you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Or if you don't know what's going on at that moment, like the best is they do the trick, and so it's like you're like, oh my gosh, they set that up. You backtrack and piece it together, and then you have an appreciation because you were not onto it that far back.
Gotcha.
So, but speaking about your friend, or the person you like, Mac King.
Mac King, yeah.
Yeah, so I do his talk show. I'm very close friends with him.
Oh, very cool.
And the first time he went to my show here in Las Vegas, we went out to dinner afterwards, and there was a piece in the show that I really felt good about, and I said something. He goes, "Oh yeah, I saw that a mile away." I was like, "Oh, come on!"
But you kind of get to enjoy it in a whole different way. You kind of get to appreciate it more. That's interesting. I like I said, it's really just so incredible what you guys do, and I think it's so cool that you keep it a secret, and unfortunately there's been a few little leaks here and there, but I think it, like you said, it kind of takes away from a lot of it for the common viewers. So
I'm not. There was, in the past, there was the whole controversy of, things being exposed,
right.
and all of that. Of course, you don't want things to be exposed, but
right.
in my opinion, even if the method or the secret to a trick is exposed, it shouldn't matter that much.
Gotcha.
I know every little thing that Matt King does in his show, and I can watch it a million times over, because it isn't about, and he has incredibly clever things in his show that, but it's not. It isn't to me, like the magic tricks are they're just a vehicle to entertain you. It isn't the, if there are some magicians that is, well, here's an example just with me. I would visit my cousins in Italy often, and my Italian is not very good, and they would always have me do some magic tricks for their friends, or at the dinner setting, and I couldn't do the tricks the way I normally do, which is with the speaking and the interacting of all of that. So really all I was doing was the trick. And then it wasn't a magic trick. It was just a puzzle.
Gotcha.
So that, I mean, that to me is the big difference. So some people, if you're going to present magic as just like a little puzzle, well then, yeah, it's all about the secret and it better be good, kind of thing.
Right.
But if it's just a means to have a good time and interact with folks, I mean, there have been some times I do along and the trick didn't work. I mean, especially with a mentalism thing, sometimes they just do not work, and it shouldn't be that big of a letdown, because we had so much fun, getting to that point.
Right.
So.
It's really that whole balance and stuff, but that's amazing that you're able to do that, and I'm sure it takes a while to kind of figure that out, and not a lot of people can do it, so that's really cool.
Yeah. The worst part is when you have magician friends in the audience and you do that whole thing and then the thing doesn't work, because then afterwards they never let you forget
right,
it.
I'm sure. I'm sure. And speaking of which, do you think maybe we could do a trick or two? Would that be
Sure.
possible?
I'll since we're talking like the whole mentalism
Okay.
thing, we'll do something along the lines
Okay.
of mentalism. I use my phone a lot to like keep track of things. I don't know if you do that or not, or
Yeah.
maybe
Yes.
your younger folks do have better memories. But I'll write things in lists and stuff like that. And I have a few lists. I have like groceries. I'll even make a list of movies or beverages or celebrities.
Right.
Name one of those categories that you would like.
Movies.
Movies.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna just write something down here. Okay. I'm just gonna put that down. Actually, you can hold on to it.
Okay.
So I think my list of movies, I wrote down like 100 movies. Just trying to think of like movies that I've seen. Give me a number from 1 to 100.
71.
71. Okay. Now, you are that's been there the whole time,
Yes.
right? I like you do is go into my notes and then go find my list of movies.
I just look at.
The greatest movies of all time, right there.
Oh my goodness, I can't see.
Top 100.
Oh, there we go. Oh. There we go.
Yeah, and why don't you scroll down to 71?
Okay. All right.
And what is it?
The Wizard of Oz.
Why don't you take a look at what I wrote?
That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
Yeah. And just remember, it's just a trick.
That's right. See, it's amazing though. I mean, I can't even imagine.
And
how
they
you
were
did
all
that.
different
They were.
on the-
and
yeah.
Every single one of them was, like you said, 100 different movies. It really was. So, it's so cool. I love it though. It's so cool that you guys do this, and I have no idea, but I don't want to know how you do it. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, and then there's also the cheesy responses with like, "How did you do that?" And you say like, "I think well," but
I think amazing. No, but I'm just really, like I said, I'm so honored to have you on, and I'm so happy things are finally kind of getting back to normal with COVID and stuff, and people can go to your show and enjoy it, and I think everyone needs a night out.
Yes,
and have your mind messed with
Yeah.
a little bit, which is great.
in a fun way.
Yes, in
Yeah.
a great way. In
Yeah.
a great way. But it's
Yeah.
cool. You're just like, how do you do that? Am I that predictable?
No.
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 No, I'm kidding.
Don't. Yeah. Well, that's the thing that worries me when I do things like that, where you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, am I that predictable?"
No.
No. It's a trick. It's a magic
Right.
trick. Yeah.
No,
So.
it's amazing though. But where can people follow you and keep up to date with everything you're doing? Go to get your show, buy tickets.
Yeah. So to buy tickets, that's
Yes.
I know that one. That's totallymental.info.
Okay.
Will bring you over to my site where you can click on it very easily to get tickets. As far as my social media goes, I am the world's worst social media person.
I understand.
My handle is at Vinny Grosso and
Okay.
Instagram and Twitter. I don't even know if I've tweeted anything in the last. So don't do that. But Instagram, I will post stuff, and I do like little contests before the show to possibly win a free drink with different postings.
That's always
and stuff.
nice.
But yeah, so I am gonna try and make an effort to be more visible and do fun things on Instagram. So at Vinny Grosso on Instagram.
Cool.
So,
Well, I truly thank you so much for being on, and
thank you for having me.
Of course, and everyone go check out his show. You will not regret it. My mind's blown with that one track. But thank you so much for being on, and thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, never give up, always believe, and you'll achieve. Thank you. God bless.